Did you see yesterday's review of the Fosi Audio GR40? It was a shock. I definitely didn't expect a $120 tube-based DAC and preamp to upset the likes of the $160 FIO K11 R2R, but as we saw, there are reasons to choose the Fosi over the FIO. Surely, Fosi couldn't pull that off with two products in a row. Could they? Let's see. The Fosi Audio MC331 is a $130 DAC and tube-based speaker amp. And so yes, it has tubes, it's also got Bluetooth, tone controls, a remote control, VU meters, and even a bonus headphone amp. I say bonus because much like the GR40, it's there, it's solid, but it's not amazing. Like the GR40, the MC331 will create significant hiss with many IEMs, and you'll probably struggle with channel imbalance at lower volume levels. With full-sized headphones though, it's actually pretty solid, and it throws a slightly wider soundstage and is actually slightly more enjoyable to me than the GR40. And that was the first inkling that something was different about the MC331 than the GR40. But we're talking headphones here, and these aren't really headphone-based devices, so let's put that aside for a moment and get to what the MC331 is really designed to do. My initial expectations of the MC331 was that it was just a GR40 with a Class-D speaker amp chip thrown in. Turns out, I was completely wrong. The MC331 is better in some areas, about the same in other areas, and then worse in a few. For starters, the Bluetooth receiver will only do AAC and SBC codecs. There's none of the high-res Bluetooth codecs like LDAC or aptX HD, so you do get stuck with just the lower level ones. There's also no written information anywhere about what sample rates specifically you can feed into the MC331, but it definitely won't do DSD, and I'm pretty sure it's capped at about 192 kHz. I didn't go too deep into testing all that. What I was more interested in was finding out how these two sounded and what made them different. And it all starts with the fact that the MC331 is using a completely different DAC chip. Not only that, it's using a DAC chip from a brand that you've probably never heard of making DAC chips before, and that's Fosi Audio. Fosi have made their own in-house DAC chip for the MC331. I suspect that might be why it doesn't do DSD, but I don't know a lot more about the DAC chip at this stage beyond that. Before you start to think that the MC331 is not as good of a product overall as the GR40, let's balance the tables and talk about where the MC331 might be better for some people. And that is that the MC331 has an amplifier built in. It can output up to 105 watts into 4-ohm speakers according to Fosi Audio. And in my testing, it was plenty powerful enough to comfortably drive my Pro Act D2s. Sorry to interrupt, I've just got a quick note about the sponsor of this video, DAC Audio. DAC Audio make headphone pads for pretty much all of your favorite headphones. They can change the sound, replace the stock version, or improve the comfort of your headphone, well, all of those things. But they also have a fantastic modular cable system that can help reduce cable clutter. What you can do is buy one half that plugs into your headphone amplifier, and then that half is separate from the half that plugs into your headphones. So you can buy as many of these as you need for your headphones and only ever buy one lead to go into the headphone amplifier. Or switch that around, if you've got one pair of headphones, buy one set that goes into your headphones and as many different terminations as you need for your headphone amplifiers. It's a great way to reduce both the cost of headphone cables, but also the number of them you have lying around. And then beyond that, DAC Audio also make things like ear tips for earphones, including wireless earphones, so they can improve the comfort of those, and even carry cases to store, protect, and transport your precious headphones. But best of all, DAC Audio are offering 10% off to viewers of Passion for Sound. All you need to do is go to daconiaudio.com and use the code PassionForSound10 at the checkout for any and all of the different items I've just mentioned. Get 10% off all of it and use it as many times as you like. So thank you to you, and thank you to DAC Audio. Now, let's get back to the video. The MC331 also comes with a remote control, which is going to be great if you want to sit back and control the volume, the input, or the integrated bass and treble controls. And so the MC331 perhaps could be a good choice to sit back in a comfy chair with your favourite drink and listen to some fantastic tunes. But that begs the question, would you want to? Is the MC331 enjoyable enough? That's the really big question here. The MC331 uses the Texas Instruments TPA3221 Class-D amp chip, which is okay, but it's not exactly the best amplifier chip going around. And yet, when you pair Fosi Audio's own DAC chip and a pair of GE5654 tubes, and the TPA3221 amplifier chip, you do get something a bit magical. Let's be clear, this is not a giant killer. You'll get more resolution, separation, detail from amps like Fosi Audio's own ZA3 or V3 monos. But what those others might not give you is the same sense of enjoyment that the MC331 brings. Something about the combination of the Class-D amplification chip and the tubes brings a sense of naturalness and realism to the MC331. I haven't heard a Class-D amplifier anywhere near this price that sounds anywhere near as enjoyable as what the MC331 can do. The tubes just seem to make it all sound more natural, more liquid, more lifelike. The music just seems to flow better from the MC331, and it sounds more natural as a result and more engaging as a result of that. What's more, the amp stage in the MC331, which includes those tubes and the Class-D chip, that's got even more to give if you use an external DAC. The tonality of the amplifier stage is natural but leaning towards being a little bit smoother, and that's regardless of the DAC being used. And then the separation of sounds, the general staging and the general imaging is, I think, outstanding for the price. Again, you might get technically better sound from a more expensive amp. Perhaps the stage could be a bit wider. Perhaps the detail retrieval might be just a little bit greater. But in most of my recent reviews of the various affordable Class-D amps out there, from brands like SMSL, Fosi Audio, AEMA, FX Audio, 3E Audio, I've always been looking forward to getting back to my usual amplifier setup. Not that I couldn't wait to get back to it, but I was happy when the review process was done. But I didn't feel that way with the MC331. I wasn't in a rush to get away from it. And that's because the MC331 brings the musicality that helps to make up for the lack of technicality. I'm not being polite here and trying to pretend that this is a muddy, thick, crappy sounding amplifier that just happens to be lush and enjoyable. What I'm saying is it's a good, better than good, it's an excellent budget amplifier that's excellent because it's got solid technicalities for the price, but excellent musicality over the top. Despite being a smooth, natural and easy to listen to amplifier, there's a lovely sense of articulation and clarity from the MC331. It's not crisp, sharp, or overly energetic, but you can feel that sense of articulation on a guitar pluck or a drum hit. It's not blunted in any way, it's got energy and life to it. This is a cheap speaker amp that you can enjoy, not just put up with. Hook it up to a decent pair of speakers and you're in for a bunch of enjoyable musical experiences. If that sounds good, check out the links in the description down below where you can go and pick one up for yourself. Or if you're more after the DAC side of things and you haven't yet seen my GR40 review, I've pinned that here at the end so you can go take a look at that one. Or perhaps you were after a speaker amp but you do want something that's even better still, I've pinned a video about what I think of as the very, very best budget speaker amp available, so you can go check that one out if you'd prefer that. Those videos should be on screen now if you're on a mobile device, or you can navigate to them with your remote control if you're watching this on a TV. For now though, a huge thanks to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you who leave super thanks on videos like this one. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.